I think I'm being watched. Ever since I started living at this house, weird things have happened. It regularly sounds like someone is walking on the outside of the house at night, and it's starting to freak me and my roommates out. For some context, this is a college house, for girls in our 20s just looking for a fun place to live. There have been a few different encounters that have led us to this conclusion, and it only continues to fall into place. Let's go back to this summer when the first break-in was. An evening in September in the middle of the week. The garage door opened and one of us was at home with music blasting. She heard it and didn't think anything of it, but about 5 minutes later went upstairs to check and found our garage door open and back door unlocked. Again, we do not use our garage. She looked around and found nothing missing and figured it was an accident. About a month later, we were having a party. It was around Halloween and we decided to have a costume party. Around 12 to 1 a.m. someone was in our backyard and turned to see a man walking up the side of our house. When the man saw him, he ran away and up the hill. We also around this time had one of our car's windows broken. Nothing was stolen, just the window was broken. Last night while driving around, we noticed a car we had seen drive by a few times and followed it up the hill. The man in this car comes to a complete stop in the middle of the street and turns around to look at us, then pulls to the side of the road. He waited there for a few minutes and we waited one street over. We saw him turn left and followed him into the neighborhood in front of ours. We lost sight of him and drove around the neighborhood a bit more. When driving in front of our house, we were wondering if anyone behind could see into our rooms and went to look in the street behind. The house that had direct view into my room happened to have this same car that was driving around our house sitting right in front of it. This car is very distinct. It's an old white sedan with a black shoe mark on the rear bumper. We immediately went back to our house and looked out the window at the house and realized we had seen someone there before. On multiple separate occasions, there was a middle-aged man standing in the window looking at our house or sitting on the back porch in a lawn chair facing our house. Last night when we went to bed, my roommate had her window open and heard footsteps, our fence gate open, and car doors. The footsteps sounded like they were directly outside her window, and I also heard them. Normally I wouldn't jump to conclusions, but I feel like these occurrences just connect too well to be coincidental. If anyone has any ideas or input, please let me know. We are genuinely getting scared. I will update if anything else happens. Man in the woods. I made this account to post here. Anyways, this happened around like 2021, and sometimes I still find it hard to grasp. For context, I now live in a different place and along with most of my relatives, so I feel safer saying this on here. The reason I'm posting this is for people to learn and possibly caution themselves from my experience. I'd say the place I lived in was just pretty old. It wasn't densely populated nor empty. It had wooded areas around it. You could cycle to the mall, school, and other normal places, but you'd have to take a car to go to places like the hospital, blah blah. I was basically in my last year of high school. Being an only child and a girl on top of that made my parents overprotective, and I was naturally more cautious than the rest of my friend group. I didn't really mind being that way though, because I always thought that was the better option. So, teenagers from school would have these outdoor get-togethers in the woods a few kilometers away from school. It was just common for people to lounge out and about, chilling till 3 a.m. or something. Including me, it was a group of 4. They decided since it's our last year, we should probably drink together in the woods. Obviously, looking back, stupid F-king idea. But it wasn't unsafe, and it wasn't deep in the woods either. There's a pretty clear trail and a small openish area where people would like get their dogs and whatnot. We planned to do it on a Thursday because my parents would be out and the rest would convince theirs that we were having a sleepover. Now we bought the alcohol and some other stuff to just chill out. There were no others that day because it was a weekday and quite chilly as well. It was pretty lively. You could see houses from the distance and people would be driving around and all, so naturally we felt safer. We walked on the trail for about 1 minute when I felt uneasy. I felt like we were being watched or something like that and looked over to one of my friend. She looked a little distressed, but we just shrugged it off. We walked only a few minutes more and found our spot. We started drinking and basically spent like 1 hour and approximate 30 minutes of gossiping and having those deep talks while being drunk. I didn't drink too much and neither did my other friend. We were just a little tipsy. Now we forgot about the brief weird feeling we had felt while walking until we heard something from the thick trees in front of us. Even though we were loud, we all heard it. It was this weird snicker giggle. I got up from this tree log I was sitting on and just dragged my friends back a little. We had a fire going and 2 torches, but still couldn't really see into that area. It wasn't that close to us, think around 4 doors away if you placed them horizontally, so the fact that we heard that laugh was just insane to me. I pointed the flash straight into the area and no one came out. I sat back down and when I turned the flashlight off, there was a silhouette coming out. I switched on the flash to blind that person while my other friends did the same. We started yelling and getting ready to run when I saw the most horrifying sight of my life. It was this man who we'd never seen before. He had this plaster smile and his hair was covered in dirt. He was pale and his eyes were almost like he wasn't looking at us, but just in our general direction. I can't explain, but just textbook creepy. We all ran for it. My very drunk friends even managed to snap out of it. We got to my house and said that we'd call the cops. We were scared very much, but it didn't matter. We called the cops. They found nothing. Word got out and people pretty much strayed away from the paths at nighttime, and a couple of the guys in our school managed to get their dads and all with guns to find the guy, but nothing ever came of it. Fast forward to like 1 month later, we didn't talk about it much and never did anything like that again. I got a pocket knife and pepper spray to keep. I went home after school and was exhausted, so I decided to take a nap. My dad was at work and my mom was visiting her sister. I suddenly woke up to this weird sound. We had 1 story and the walls were not too thick. I locked all the doors and even the windows out of habit. Still, fearing for the worst, I locked my room door and kind of looked out my window. There was nothing. I grabbed a bat and my phone. Heading out of my room, I looked at all the doors and everything was locked. There was this weird like shuffling out my house and I just looked through the window of my living room. I kid you not, it was the same dude from the woods. He was just outside walking in this erratic, eerie way which just sent me into a spiral. He somehow saw me and started saying hi there, very loudly. I called the police and after that, I told him to frick off. After that he started saying my name and all my friends' names. The police questioned him. He has no history of mental illness. He had no clinical disorder.